Good morning, everyone. Today, inshallah, it's a beautiful day, first of all. Today, we are going to review some about statistics and probability. This topic is very, very simple compared to what we did go through in the previous lectures. So I think it's going to be a really, very nice lecture for you. I'm going to review today a lot information about statistics, about how to find or to describe data, defining the measures of location, the various measures of location, and the associated various methods of dispersion. Of course, as we already know, all our course materials, notes, everything, you will find it on Canvas. So we should be in a very good shape regarding our resources and also the recorded version. You can find it either on YouTube or on the link on Canvas. Okay, today's learning objectives are, by the end of this lecture, you should be able to, number one, summarize the qualitative, quantitative data with frequency distribution tables, evaluate the various location measures for both types of data, grouped or ungrouped types of data. Also, you will be able to evaluate the various measures of dispersion, either the direct methods or the direct laws that you can evaluate the dispersion measures, or the relative measures as we spoke previously. Today's lecture is very simple. You should try to resolve most of these examples on your own, and this way it will help you out through your course simply. This topic is very, very simple, so I hope you will understand it clearly. First of all, let's talk about what we mean about describing data. As I told you previously, just seconds ago, that describing data is about involving, extracting information about the general distribution of data. In this chapter, we will cover two main aspects, which are mainly the measures of location or the central tendency measures. Then we will go through the measures of dispersion today, inshallah. I will try to make things easier and I will try to cut it short as much as possible. All of these topics you are already familiar with them. We just need to go through them in order to make you refresh your data. We are interested in value data within the center of the distribution. That's mainly what we mean about central tendency measures. There are various alternatives to measure, to find a central tendency measure, starting from the mid-range, okay, the arithmetic mean, the median, and the mode. We have four types of measures that can be used as central tendency measures. As I told you, mid-range, arithmetic mean, median, and the mode. And we will go through them in the two cases, either if you have your data set in ungrouped form or in grouped form, which means in a frequency distribution. Let's start with the first of them, which is the mid-range. The mid-range, this measure is really very easy. It's simply the sum of the highest value and the lowest value. شباب, احنا بنحتاج الميجرز of location او الميجرز of central tendency once you are collecting data, either from lab or from field. You need to start describing the data you are collecting from both sources of data in general. Okay, the first is the mid-range. It's very, very simple. All you have to do is to get the lowest value plus the highest value, then you get your sum, and then divide by 2, you get your n-1. This is a huge advantage for the mid-range, and also it's a huge disadvantage. The advantages of mid-range, it's easy to evaluate, as you see. All what we did, we are trying to identify the highest or the upper bound plus the lower bound, getting the sum of these two values divided by 2. Okay, fast measure to a data set. We didn't exert a lot of effort in order to get this measure. Okay, the disadvantages regarding the mid-range, number one, it's greatly affected by extreme values. If you have outliers or if you have extreme values within your distribution, mid-range is not going to be accurate. Also, qualitative distributions don't have a mid-range. I'm sorry. If you have colors or you have qualitative data in general, which is non-quantitative data, it's not going to be possible to evaluate mid-range. As I told you, it considers only two values, discarding how the rest of the values are distributed within your distribution. For an example, let's say, for this example that we did go through previously, you have 20 employees. This is the distances that they are driving in miles to their works every day. We collected these data from 20 employees. Each one of them answered the question, how many miles do you drive from your home to your work? 1, 2, 6, 7, blah, 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 as you can see. If I want to get just only one nice number representing all these numbers using the mid-range, it's going to be very, very simple. All I have to do is to find the upper bound, then the lower bound, adding them together and divide by 2. So, as an average, everyone will drive 9.5 miles, for example. This looks tempting. It's very, very fast, as you can see. And this is an example for the ungrouped data, the data which are not actually put in a frequency distribution. On the other hand, if your data was given to you in an frequency distribution, we will be able to evaluate the mid-range using this term. We will get first the lower limit of the first interval plus the upper limit of the last interval, getting their sum and divide by 2. This way we can evaluate mid-range very, very easily. If you see this example, which is an example of a frequency distribution of certain data on the first row, then against the frequencies on the second row. If I want to identify the mid-range, it's very, very simple. All I have to do is to get the lower limit of the first interval. This is the first interval, so I'm going to identify 12 plus the upper limit of the last interval, which is 33. So simply NR will equal to 12 plus 33 divided by 2 is going to come up to 45 over 2, which is going to be 22.5. That's the value of your mid-range. As you can see, it's really, very fast, very, very simple. The two main disadvantages using the mid-range, still, number one, it's greatly affected by extreme values if it was involved in your data. Number two, we collected all the distribution and we just shared the lower bound and the upper bound of your distribution, either in grouped or ungrouped data. This is the main issue with mid-range. And this situation makes people think to find a better measure of location. Exactly, so they start searching for the arithmetic mean. Arithmetic mean is one of the most famous measures of central tendency measures. And in case of ungrouped data, which are the raw data, if you have raw data, it's very, very simple. All you have to do is to get the sum of all the observations divided by their numbers. For example, you have 3.2, 4.5, 8.5, blah, 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 till you reach 4.7. We want to identify the arithmetic mean for this group of numbers. All I have to do is to get the sum of all of these numbers all together, divided by their number or their count. Once we start collecting them, they will come up to 56. Simply divided by 10, so your arithmetic mean is 5.6. For this example, if we want to compare the arithmetic mean versus the mid-range, okay, زي اتفضل.
هو اللي اسمه arithmetic mean هو مش بيجي وخلاص يعني؟
مين؟
ليه اسمه arithmetic mean؟ عشان mean طبيعي يعني.
هو النوع ده انك تجمعهم على بعض وتديفايد على 10 في arithmetic mean، لان في other types of mean، في geometric mean، معايا في weighted mean، ففي means كتير. لكن الارithmetic مقصود with sum of all observations divided by their number. Okay يا مان؟ طيب can you get the mid range? Okay, you can define mid-range. What's the mid-range for these values? The lowest value of all of them, which is going to be 2.2. The highest value, which is going to be 9.2. Those are the sum of them. It's going to be 11.4 divided by 2. So it's going to be 5.7, which is very, very nice compared to 5.6. Okay. If I want to get the arithmetic mean for grouped data or the data in a frequency distribution, the law will be slightly different. In this case, we will need to use this law instead of the previous one, which states that we will have to get the sum of each class mark times the frequency of this class mark. Once you get the sum of all of these quantities, we will divide it by the total number of observations, and this way we can find simply the arithmetic mean for this distribution. Remark that the sum of all frequencies always will equal to the sample size. And this is a place that we can find an MCQ question may arise for you. Once more, the sum of all frequencies equal the sample size. Okay, for the same problem that we already did go through in mid-range, I want to evaluate the arithmetic mean. So first of all, I will have to find xi, which represent the class mark, or the middle class or the middle value in each class of these classes. So first of all, I will start by getting this. These are the classes against the frequencies. First step, I will have to collect all of these data. So 8 plus 23 plus 17 plus 18 plus 8, blah, blah, blah. It's going to come up to 80. So this is n, sum of frequencies. Then I will try to get the class mark, which is xi, for each interval. How to get xi for each one of them? It's very simple. All I have to do is to get the sum of the lower bound plus the upper bound of each interval divided by 2. So simply it's going to be 12 plus 15, which is 27, divided by 2, which is going to be 13.5. Similarly, like for the second, third, fourth, fifth of these classes. Also, we can do something else. We can get the mid of the first interval, which is going to be 13.5. Then I will add an interval width on each one of them. يبقى على كل واحدة فيهم نضيف مين؟ interval width. As you see, interval width in this class, which is 3. So getting 13.5 plus 3 is going to be 16.5. Plus 3 is going to be 19.5. Plus 3 is going to be 22.5. And so on. In this case, we got xi's for the class marks. Also, we can do them in another manner. We can get the mid of this interval width. This interval width, which is simply 3 divided by 2, which is going to come up to 1.5. Start adding 1.5 on the lower limits, and you will get your xi's directly. So the first of them is going to be 13.5, 16.5, 19.5, 22.5, 25.5, 28.5, which really looks tempting in order to get the values of xi. Using your calculator, start multiplying 8 times 13.5, which is going to come up to 108. 23 times 16.5, which is going to come up to 379.5. Then sum of all of these numbers, which is going to be 1605. And then divided by 80, you will get your arithmetic. Mr. Ryan, can you get the mid-range for this classification, for this data? The mid-range, it's very simple for group data. So, how to get it? Get the lower limit of the first interval, which is plus the upper limit of the last interval, which is divided by 2. So it's going to come up to 22.5, which is not bad compared to the first. تمام؟ Okay, perfect. The major advantages، خلي بالك ان من الجزء ده هيجي لك في الامتحان ام سي كيو. معايا الجزء ده هيجي لك في الامتحان ام سي كيو questions. You have to understand and to memorize the advantages and disadvantages for each measure of these measures, plus how to evaluate them and the rules that exist or that we are using within each measure of these measures. the great advantages of arithmetic mean. First of all, every set of a quantitative data has a mean. It's exactly like the mid-range. Once you have quantitative data, you can evaluate the mid-range or the arithmetic mean. So that's a very nice advantage for the arithmetic mean. Number two, all values of sample are included in evaluating sample mean, which is go against or people try to use this advantage to go over the obstacle that happens in mid-range. Mid-range, you are using just only two values. Here you are using all the values in this distribution. Number three, mean is a unique value, and also like the mid-range. What we mean about unique value? If you have a bunch of data, their arithmetic mean will be just one number. Okay? Exactly like the mid-range. You will understand this more once we go through mode. So that's considered as an advantage for the arithmetic mean. The mean is a useful measure for comparing two or more populations. If you want to compare the reinforcing the concrete reinforcement in two countries, we can do that simply by getting the mean or the average for the first community or for the first country and the other for this other one and compare them together. Number five, the arithmetic mean is the only measure of location. This is really very important. It is the only measure of location. Once you start summing the data deviated from the arithmetic mean, the result will be equal to zero. معناه الكلام ده. لو أنا جبت الارithmetic mean وجبت differences between the arithmetic mean and all the data set, جبت differences between each one of them, and collected these differences, هتلاقي الفاليو بتاعتك بتساوي كام؟ بتساوي زيرو. طب ودي تفرق معايا إيه؟ تفرق معايا إن الارithmetic mean mathematically is in the center of your data. ودي advantage كبير. مش كلهم كده، ممكن يبقوا shifted to the right or shifted to the left زي ما انت. طيب ايه disadvantages بتاعت الارithmetic mean؟ Number one, still greatly affected by extreme values. بيتأثر بمين؟ extreme values. وبرضه qualitative distributions ما لهمش arithmetic mean. فدي disadvantages بتاعت الارithmetic mean. برضه من الحاجات اللي biologic في الارithmetic mean you can't evaluate arithmetic mean for an open distribution. يعني ايه open distribution؟ يعني لو انا جيت اقول لك from 0 to 100, from 100 to 200, from 200 and above كده ما تقدرش تحسب arithmetic mean. لكن في measures ثانيه ينفع انها تستخدم مع الاوبن end distributions زي طبعا الميديان. والميديان is simply defined as the number in the middle of your observation, above which you have 50% of your data, or below which you have 50% of your data. How to evaluate the median? First of all, you have to rearrange your data. لازم ارتب الداتا بتاعتي in ascending or descending. This is number one. Number two, if the sample size is odd, try to add one of the sample size, then divide by 2. This is going to be the rank of the median. Okay, if the number is even, the number of your observation is even, it's simply, I'm going to divide the number by 2 and getting the value of your observation, this is the rank of the first of them, plus the preceding one, and then divided by 2. This way I can get the median for these set of data. Of course, all of this applies for the ungrouped data only. For example, لو انا عندي شويه بيانات زي اللي حضرتك شايفها، عايز اوجد الميديان، اعمل ايه؟ قول يا جميل. لو عايز اوجد الميديان، first of all, I try to rearrange them in ascending manner من الصغير للكبير، او عكسيا بس يعني جرب اعرف ان انا برتبهم من الصغير للكبير. بالفعل انا عملت كده، انا رتبتهم لك اهو 2.2 يجي 2.6 يجي 3.2 and so on. بعدين بص على النمبر، مجموعهم كام؟ 10, which is an even number. طيب, how to get the value? Simply divide 10 by 2, which is going to be 5. So I will go to the fifth observation, around the fifth observation, which is 4.7, plus the preceding or the next value, which is 6.3. Then divide by 2, كده انا جبت الميديان بتاعي مش مشكله خالص. طيب لو النمبر odd، يعني لو كان الصم بتاعهم بيساوي 10، يعني every data بتاعتك مش كان فيها 9.2. What to do? Simply I will rearrange them, getting the number which is an odd number plus 1 which is going to be 10 divided by 2 يبقى على طول هيبقى الفifth observation which is 4.7. That's the difference between odd observations, number of observations, or even number of observations. طبعا in our class or our example يبقى I will get the value against n over 2 plus the value against n over 2 plus 1 which is going to be 4.7 plus 6.3 which looks like 5.5. Still very good accuracy for this problem, getting the median, the mean which was I believe 5.6 or the mid-range which was I think 5.4, so it's really a very good distribution. Okay, طيب in case of ungrouped data برضه حاول تفهم ده منه. في حالة ungrouped data we use this law. اللو بيقول ايه؟ اللو states ان you will have to get n over 2 which is the sum of all observations divided by 2 minus the cumulative frequency before this or less than n over 2. Then getting the difference divided by the frequency of the median class times the interval width of the median class plus the lower limit of the median class. Going through this laws this way make it looks difficult. But if we go through an example it's going to be really very simple. تعال بص كده ازاي اقدر احسب الميديان باستخدام اللو اللي انا قلته. اول حاجه in evaluating the arithmetic mean في حاله الجروب داتا مين لازم يبقى معايا؟ كلاس ماركس. طيب في حاله الميديان مين لازم يبقى معايا؟ cumulative frequency. يبقى انا احتاج في حاله الميديان ان اجيب cumulative frequency. طيب how to get cumulative frequency? Simply هعمل الاتي. I will move 8, then 8 plus 23 which is going to come up to 31. 31 plus 17 which is going to come up to 48. 48 plus 18 which is going to come up to 66 and so on. 66 plus 8 is going to be 74. 74 plus 4 is going to be 78. 78 plus 2 which is going to come up to 80. Then I will get the sum of all the frequencies divided by 2 which is simply is 40. I will go through the cumulative frequency. I'm looking for the first number that will exceed 40. بدور على أول رقم هيزيد على 40. أول رقم exceeding 40 which is 48. And this way we can identify the middle class. ده كده اسمه الميدل كلاس. أنا حددته. يبقى دي step number 1. حددت الميدل كلاس. بعدين أروح قايل 40 minus 31. الريزلت خلينا نكتبه معاك كده ونحلها سوا. تمام؟ دي واحده من المسائل المهمه قوي. بص كده اول حاجه عملتها عملت ايه؟ جبت السم اوف اول اوف ذيس داتا. يعني ده معناه ان n بيساوي 80. This is step number 1. I will get n over 2 which is gonna come up to 40. بعدين هبدا ادور في وسط الكوميونتيف فريكونسيز الكوميونتيف column till we find the first number that will be greater than 40. Once ان انا حددته ده بيطلق عليه الميدل كلاس اللي انا جبته ده اللي هو بسميه الميدل كلاس. ده كده اسمه ميدل كلاس. حددته ده معناه ان الميديان will be between 18 and 21. طيب how to get it exactly? All I have to do is to get n over 2 which is 40 minus the cumulative frequency number that's before 48. يبقى لازم اجيب الكوميونيتيف فريكونسي اللي اقل من ال 40 من الميديان كلاس. يبقى اذا ده معناها 40 minus 31 divided by the frequency of the middle class. يبقى الكلام ده يتقسم على 17 times the interval width of this middle class which is simply 3 plus the lower limit of this class which is 80. كده انت جبت الميديان بتاع المظبوط. يبقى تاني once more. First of all جبت n over 2 اللي هو 40. اخش على الكوميونيتيف فريكونسي ادور على اول number that will exceed 40. يبقى اجيب الانترفال اللي هيبقى فيها الميديان حلو جدا. اجيبه ازاي؟ اجيبه باي ريشيو. اقول n over 2 which is 40 minus the cumulative frequency اللي previous to it which is 31 بعدين divided على الفريكونسي بتاع الميديان كلاس. كده حددت ريشيو. الريشيو تايمز 3 يبقى انا جبت percentage in the middle class plus the lower limit which is 18 يدي لك على طول الفاليو بتاعت الميديان. مفيش اي مشكله خالص. شباب الطريقه دي واضحه؟ تمام حلو جدا. على طول الستيب اللي بعديها انا على طول عملت له L plus N over 2 minus cumulative frequency over F times I. عرفت على طول ان هو بيساوي 19.5 وايدنتيفايد الميديان. سوري الميديان. الهيوج ادفانتجز اوف الميديان. ايه اكبر مميزات الميديان؟ نمبر 1 ده ميديان زي مين فاهم؟ ما بيطلعش للديستريبيوشن اكتر من ميديان زي الارثماتيك زي الميديان. نمبر 2 it's not affected by extreme values. اول مره ده يحصل. يبقى الادفانتج بتاعت الميديان عن الارثماتيك مين والميد رينج لو مش بيتاثر بمين؟ بالاكستريم values. Number 3 it can be used for interval, ratio and ordinal level data. تقدر تستخدمه للmost of levels of measurements. Number 4 it can be computed for open-ended distribution. That's a huge advantage. الاوبن-ended distributions انا ما اقدرش احسب لها mid range لان ما عندكش upper bound للداتا بتاعتك. ولا اقدر احسبه بالنسبه للارثماتيك مين لانك هتيجي في اللاست انترفال مش هتقدر تطلع بقى راس مارك. مين اللي يهدك فيه؟ على طول الميد رينج. يبقى اذا بقدر احسبه بالاوبن اند ديستريبيوشنز. يكاد يكون الديس ادفانتج الوحيد بتاع الميديان انه ما بيتحسبش بالكواليتيف. طيب الفورث ميجر اوف ذيس ميجرز اوف سنترال تندنسي هيجي لك مين على طول؟ المود. طب المود بيقول ايه؟ المود it is the observation that happens most frequently. او in another definition the mode is the observation with highest frequency. اكتر حاجه بتتكرر عندك في الحياه. طيب حد يجي يبص لي على المساله اللي موجوده معانا شويه الداتا اللي قدامي. حد يقدر يقول المود ده بكام يا عمر؟ لو قعدت ابص كده هلاحظ ان مفيش عندي نمبر اوكي بيحصل له ريبيتيشن. So all of them just only one time. For the first time you can't identify a measure of these measures. The mid-range, the arithmetic mean, the median, all of them can be simply identified for any number, for any bunch of numbers. But the mode, for all of this, there is no mode. This is the first time you face this obstacle. If we want to see this second problem, which is 3.2, 4.5, 2.2, 6.3, 2.2, 6.3, blah, blah, blah. And I'm searching for the value that happens most frequently. Unfortunately, and also for the first time, it's not a unique value for this example. As you can see, 2.2 repeated 2 times. 6.3 repeated 2 times. So this is a bi-model example. You have 2 modes. One of them 2.2 and the other is 6.3. This is actually explaining why mid-range, arithmetic mean, and the median, all of them are unique values. For any set of data, you will have one number representing this. Okay, for the third example, you have 3.2, 4.5, 2.2, blah, blah, blah. You will find the most repeated number out of them, which is 2.2, which is the mode. So, using the mode, as you can see, for the first time, we are suffering from instability in evaluating the mode. Some distributions, simply they don't have modes. Others, they may have more than one mode. And others simply will have one mode. Okay, if we want to evaluate mode for grouped data or a data with a frequency distribution, what to do, what we need. In order to do this, we will need just only the frequency. If you remember or you remark my words, evaluating mid-range, you will need the observations only. Getting the arithmetic mean, you really will need the observations plus the frequencies in order to get plus marks, then multiplying them together. In evaluating the medians or the middle, in order to evaluate the middle, you will have to have qualitative distribution. So cumulative frequency. يبقى لو عايز احسب median لازم اعمل cumulative frequency. طيب لو انا بتكلم على المود، في حالة المود خلي بالكم، في حالة المود انا بحتاج بس الفريكونسي. طيب لو دخلت في المود بدور على الهايست فريكونسي، بص على النمبرز دي وايدنتيفاي الهايست فريكونسي which is 23. In order to evaluate the mode I will do the following. عشان احسب المود العملية سهلة. I will get the difference between the highest frequency and the one before it and the one after it. So first of all, I will get my pen. 23 is the highest frequency. I will get the difference between 23 and 17. So this is delta n, which is simply going to be 23 minus 17. I believe it's going to be 6. Then I will get the difference between the highest frequency and the previous value. So I will call it delta b, which is going to be 23 minus 8. I believe it's going to come up to 15. يبقى أنا بجيب الفيرست difference بجيب السكند difference. عشان نجيب بقى المود it's going to be really very simple. All I have to do is to form a ratio between the preceding and the sum of them 6 plus 15 times the interval width of the mode or the interval width of the model class, which is going to be times 3 plus the lower limit of this interval, which is going to be 15. simply اقدر اجيب المود بتاعي. خلي بالك انت هنا ممكن تتسال على انك تو ايفالويت بروبلم زي دي، ممكن تتسال على اللو بتاعك، ممكن تتسال على الادفانتجز والديس ادفانتجز الخاصه بكل ميجرمنت. يعني مستر زيد انا ممكن اديلك نفس المساله دي او مساله قريبه جدا منها، بعدين اروح مديلك تيبل كده موجود فيه 4 alternatives. This is A B C، ودايما انا بحب ان انا اكتب B none of the other choices عشان ما تمنعش الكرياتيفيتي بتاعتك. فحضرتك هتشوف الرقم تحسبه وتختار which one of them. If you choose any of these values without calculations, if you need to use calculations, so the grade, if it was 2, it's going to be 1 mark for getting the right choice and 1 mark for the evaluation. If you choose the right answer without evaluating, you will get 1 mark. حضرتك فاهمين الكلام؟ يعني لما هاجي اسالك في الامتحان خلي بالك شويه، لو انا طلبت منك انك تجيب المود وحضرتك قلتي مثلا تشويس نمبر 8 مثلا، بس مش عملتي الريزلتس دي او ما عملتيش الايفالويشن كوريكت، كده تاخد كام درجه اوت اوف 2؟ 1. عشان تيجي تعمل فول مارك لازم تشوف يور ستيبس اللي انت استخدمت فيها او هاو تو ايفالويت ذيس فاليو. معايا ولا ايه؟ يبقى اذا اكتب اللو، انا اي ويل بريفير انك تكتب اللو بتاعك، واللو ده موجود عندك. بص ادا اللو موجود معاك وتقدر تاخده في الفورمولا شيت بتاعتك اهو اللو تكتبه. بعدين تبدا تستارت ايفالويتنج اهو، انا حاطه هنا اهو ده سوري جاست ا سكند. ده المود انا جبت الديفرنس بريفيسلي على الديفرنس بين all of them. جبت 23 minus 8 divided by 23 minus 17 plus 23 minus 8. جبت الفرق في الديفرنسز بتاعتي وقدرت ان انا احسبها. تاني once more خلي بالك يا لؤي، عشان احسب الفريكونسي عشان احسب المود بدور في الفريكونسيز على الهايست فريكونسي. مين الهايست فريكونسي؟ 23. اجيب 23 minus 8 وانا اول ريكومند انك تكتبها هنا 15. بعدين اجيب 23 minus 17 واروح كاتبه هنا برسم 15 على الصم ده زي ما انا عايز. بعدين لما اجيب الريشيو دي اروح ضاربها في مين؟ في الانترفال ويدث اللي هو عرض الفتره اللي هو هنا بكام؟ بعدين بلس اللي هو الليمت اللي هو بكام؟ ب 15. يبقى انا حسبت المود بتاعي. ايفالويتنج المين والمود والميديان بيتيليو a lot about your distribution. بص كده لو انا حسبت الثلاثه بتوعي، بس قبل ما اخش في ده عايز اكلمك على الادفانتجز بتاعت استخدامك للمود. رقم واحد it can be evaluated for all levels of measurements. اقدر حتى استخدم المود مع الكواليتيتيف داتا. خلي بالك الميد رينج والارثماتيك مين والميديان ما ينفعوش مع الكواليتيتيف داتا. تعرف يعني ايه كواليتيتيف داتا يا لؤي؟ يعني بيانات بالنوع مش بالرقم. زي مثلا اما لقينا بيانات عن انواع السمنتس اللي موجوده في مصر. عندي اسمنت السويس، عندي اسمنت حلوان، عندي اسمنت الجديده، عندي اسمنت اسكندريه، ماشي، عندي اسمنت زين مثلا. ادي انواع الاسمنت اللي موجوده هنا. لو انا دخلت في السايتس اللي موجوده حواليا اشوف each one of them using which type of this cement وبدات اعمل frequency distribution اقدر اوجد المود. الموست ريبيتد وان هيبقى هو ده. لكن مثلا ما اقدرش اعمل ارثماتيك مين مستر لؤي. لما اقدرش اقول السويس زائد مش عارف مين زائد مين والبحر مع بعض واصنع عدد مش هعرف اعمل. يبقى اذا ده ميزه كبيره للمود. برضه الكالرز لو انا نزلت مثلا في المكان اللي احنا موجودين فيه I'm searching for the most repeated color for the external paint in all of these buildings. انا راجل بتاع دهانات ناوي افتح دهانات هنا. فعايز اشوف الناس بتستخدم اكتر من بره ايه؟ الناس دي بتحب ايه؟ معايا عشان اوفره عندي. لو انا عملت كده اقدر اقول في دهانات جيتن، في دهانات كذا، او لون احمر، اخضر، اصفر، ازرق، اشوف الموست ريبيتد وهو ده اللي اكرره. صح كده؟ ينفع انك تعمل الموضوع بس مش ينفع تعمل لا ميد رينج ولا اسمنت مين ولا ميديم. فدي ادفانتج كبير. اتس نوت افكتد باي اكستريم فاليوز، ما بتوصلش اكستريم فاليوز ودي زي الميديم. خلي بالك it can be distributed for open ended distributions. يعني لو انا عندي open ended distribution يعني جدول زي اللي فات ورا ده، بصوا كده يعني ايه open ended distribution. بص نفس الجدول اللي ورا ده بس انا اجي هنا اروح قايل لك ايه مستر لؤي 30 فما فوق. مفيش فوق 30 to 33 لا 30 and above. وده انا بستخدمه كتير. يعني الاسلوب ده في الكاونتنج انا بستخدمه كتير. لو انا بعمل تاكسز يبقى كده بتعمل سلايسز. يعني مثلا تقول ايه let them 24,000 per year it will be tax exempted. خلاص مش هاخد منهم ضرايب. from 24 to 30 يبقى ده يبقى قد كده. من 30 ل 36 يبقى ده التاكسز بتاعته. above certain value يبقى فيه رقم محدد بس هو ده اسمه open end distribution.